So, welcome to another episode of the Guest Safety Officer Shorts. This week, I have Simon Mallin from me today, an expert dog handler, who's going to explain to us about dog handling in the UK. Simon, could you give us a quick brief about yourself, please?
Sure. Thank you for inviting me, Gary. Just briefly, I started off as a dog handler in the British Army, predominantly on the tracking side of things, in the 80s and 90s. Since then, I've traveled around the world and worked around the world in various different theatres, if you like, training and handling. And in more recent years, so the last 12, 15 years, I've been based back here in the UK, predominantly running dog handling courses for GPs, patrol dogs, drug dogs, and explosive dogs.
Cheers for that, Simon. So, give us a quick brief about the importance of dog security in the UK.
Okay, so I mean, there's a few different elements to it. So let's talk about your patrol dogs first, which are known as GP, or we call them GP, which is general purpose. So those dogs are obviously, and handlers are extremely high profile. It's a very good visual deterrent in itself. Most importantly, the dogs can be used at night time, where maybe other equipment or resources or human eye may fail. So the dog will be trained to pick up and indicate a hidden intruder or maybe somebody on the outside of a fence, that sort of thing. Thinking of event type work, maybe somebody trying to come in, the dog would alert the handler and they'd know that somebody's there. We've got then, I'm talking about the three primary ones, which is drug dogs. So there's two elements to drug dogs. One is what we call passive scanning, which are dogs that are trained to detect substances on people, generally at entrance points, that sort of thing. And then we have proactive drug dogs, which are dogs that are trained to detect substances on buildings, open areas, vehicles, baggage, buildings, that type of thing. Passive dogs, obviously, at an event type scenario, they can search large numbers of people at any one time. So one, you asked about the effects of it. Well, a visual deterrent alone hopefully would make people think twice. If you were to use just humans to search for drugs, you'd have an endless queue, whereas if a dog indicating on somebody, the human element can concentrate on that one person. Explosives, so again, should speak for itself. The private sector is mostly doing what we call defensive searching, so it's behind the scenes type stuff. So again, for events, iconic buildings, that sort of thing. Visual deterrent has a massive factor on it, particularly if there's reconnaissance happening on the facility, knowing that there's teams being used there. Public reassurance is another element to it at events, seeing the dogs and handlers working there makes public feel warm and comfortable about going into that facility. And obviously the reassurance that the place is being searched and free from IEDs.
Thanks for that, Simon. I appreciate that. So just looking back at that, so we've got explosive dogs, drug dogs, and general purpose dogs. Just sum that up quickly, briefly. It's a good explanation for him. So if someone wants to become a dog handler in the UK, what sort of qualifications and certification they require?
Well, they need an SIA license. Even though dog handling isn't an SIA licensed activity, there's still a security officer with a dog. If they're working licensed premises, we, as a drug dog handler, we'd suggest they go down the route of a door supervisor. If they're handling an explosive dog or a GP dog, they could equally go down the road of a security officer or CP. A number of the guys would have a CP license even. So that would be sort of the background of it. Have an aptitude towards dogs, that's something that you can't train. So, that's inside you. And a suitable dog. There's two ways of doing this. And I'll talk I can't say it generically. I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, generically. Different training providers, different trainers have a different business model. If I talk about myself, I would encourage somebody to come to me with a dog and I would train the dog and handler together. Some training providers would provide a course dog. So the dog's already trained and they'd loan the dog. and then at the end of that period, they'd leave with a handler qualification. That would then limit them where they could gain employment, because they'd be stuck without a dog, really. That's the way the industry works, although there are a number, well, maybe a handful of companies that supply dogs. So you'd have your handler qualification. You'd then go to a company that would supply you a dog. More than likely, you'd do some further training with that dog and be reteamed. So yeah, that would be it in a nutshell.
Okay. So what qualifications? So where can they get these qualifications from? I know you do the qualifications.
Yeah, so I'm linked to NASDU, which is the National Association of Security Dog Users. So all the qualifications that I deliver are through that organisation, which is in turn through Highfield. So a dog can't obtain an academic qualification. So the way it works is completion of training. There'd be an EPA, an endpoint assessment. Presuming the team, which is a dog and handler, pass that assessment, they would then have, they obviously pass, certification would be applied for, and the handler would achieve a Highfield lifelong certificate, and the team, being dog and handler, would achieve a NASDU team certificate. The NASDU team certificate would have a run-out date of 1 year. And the reason for that is all teams need to be reassessed annually and certificated annually. Something else to consider as well, explosive teams need to be assessed on a monthly basis, drug dog teams on a quarterly basis, and GP teams on a quarterly basis. So there are additional costs and times involved with being a dog handler.
That's brilliant. That's good overall view on all that there. So say if I want to become a dog handler, how do I acquire a dog? What do I need to do to do this job?
So, again, I'll talk generically. I said it generically. There you go.
Yeah.
I'll talk. Some training providers would provide a dog, agreed, and you'd purchase a dog in conjunction with the course. Some people would already have their own dog. And in my case, if somebody turned up and they've got this dog, I'd ask a few questions. I think the dog is suitable. Then before we go any further, I'd arrange a 1-day assessment, and they'd come in and I'd meet them and I'd carry out some basic tests of the dog. Alternatively, we've got to find a dog. So dogs are costly at the moment, and finding, in fact, I'm going through it with a customer at the moment. I've just been running an explosive course for a novice handler and green dog. I helped him find the dog. We actually went to a rescue. I tested the dog. We both agreed that it was suitable to start a course. You can't guarantee any dog's going to complete a course. He started off okay. Sort of halfway through the first sort of 2 weeks, I started to see flaws. And only yesterday we had to decide that this dog wasn't suitable. So it's really frustrating, disappointing. I've been doing this a long time. I like to think I know what I'm doing. Not every dog can do this. So there is a risk element as well that people need to consider. So let's use this gentleman as an example. He got the dog from a rescue, and there are good dogs in rescues because the reason they end up there, and the reason they can end up there, is the qualities that we're looking for, particularly on the search side. So it's a good place to look. He got it from rescue, so it didn't cost him a lot of money, a lot of time and effort. And the benefit of this is the rescue would take the dog back if it wasn't worked out suitable. However, as you do, he's fallen in love with the dog. It's going nowhere. Yeah, so it happens. So they've now got a pet dog. He's not going to give up. And he's now on the hunt for a second dog, and I'm helping him with that as well. Put some feelers out with contacts I know. I'm not a big fan of people spending a fortune on pre-trained dogs. I can train a dog in conjunction with a course. It's a better result because they'll go through, yes, this sort of situation can happen, but you do go through a better learning process, and you'll understand how your dog operates at the end of the course period. So there's less chance of you breaking it. And the analogy I give is like going to taking your driving lessons, but in conjunction with taking your driving lessons, you're having some tuition on how to maintain your vehicle and make repairs. So that's the sort of way that I go along with it. So they're not just operating a dog, they're handling a dog.
That's brilliant, Simon. Thank you for that. Which also leads me on to my next question, which is, the ethical and legal responsibilities of a dog handler, not just after looking after the dog, but also, when they're out on the ground.
Okay, so we have so trainers have a NASDU training. We'll talk about this. So have a strict NASDU code of practice, which is very detailed in all elements of training, including welfare of the dogs. And there's also a British standard, which for GP and detection dogs, it's very detailed. And in there, you'd have anything from sort of basic requirements like what should be contained in the dog's file, as in training records and veterinary history, that sort of thing, to suggested hours the dog should work and handler should work. Training, initial training, the requirements are very detailed in the British standard. Monthly assessments, ongoing training, it's all listed there. So we have got a British standard that is quite detailed, and I use it quite religiously, to be honest, if that's the appropriate word.
I see. So on that point, you're going down those paths. So if people are looking to go on, I mean, they need to obviously do their CPD or ongoing training, which you've got out there, which you say that. Once they're doing it, what other opportunities are there out there for dog handlers for this continued professional development? Do they have to come to you all the time, or is there other opportunities out there, other people?
No, there's a network of trainers around the UK. In fact, personally, if somebody trains with me, it's not that I want to get rid of them, but I suggest that they train elsewhere as well, because we've all got a slightly different take on things. So certainly their monthly CT is continuation training. I would advise that they use other trainers around the country as well. But as far as sort of development is concerned, there's so many different aspects to dog handling that if somebody wanted to, some people start off doing GP, for example, which is your general purpose, your patrol dogs, just to sort of get their foot in the door. And maybe 2 years later, they think about, right, I'd like to try the detection side, and I'll train with a drug dog. So then they go on a drug dog course. Then they want to do an explosive course, and it doesn't have to be in that order. Even though the GP course is a level 2, drugs is a level 3, explosives is a level 4. They're all entry courses. So there's absolutely no reason for the right people. You couldn't directly come in and train on a level 4 explosive course. In fact, the majority of my customers come on that route. So you can add to your training disciplines. And then we've got quite quirky stuff as well, like bed bugs, bed bug detection, that sort of thing. So there's other avenues to that you could add to it. And of course, if people have a desire to train, you can go on to become a trainer, instructor. And again, because there's so many different disciplines in it, you can't just, let's say you're a GP handler and you progress to GP training. That's just one discipline. So you could do explosives, drugs, it's never ending. So, you can keep on going and going and going if you wish.
I see. So my final question for you here. So you've mentioned all about, you can go up different levels, bits and pieces of GP dogs. We've got GP dogs, explosive dogs, drug dogs, and also you've got another side, as I know you can do truffle testing, your bed bugs, which you've also mentioned. So can that single dog be an explosive dog and a drugs dog?
Physically, yes, but we don't do that. And the reason we don't do that is the action's on a find. So in a very sort of diluted version, actions on a find with an explosive dogs, you recall the dog and you put a cordon in place and you evacuate the area. With a drug dog, you'd go and have a look. So we don't mix the two because the dog can't tell you, hang on, mate, don't go near that bag. I think it might be a bomb. Or it's okay, mate. Yeah, I think there's a bag of cocaine in it. So that's why we don't mix and match.
Right, I understand. So you need a dog for a dog for
Yeah,
each.
I mean, drugs you could add. So we got pyrotechnics as well. You could add pyrotechnics to drugs, for example, for a passive dog. The downside of that, again, the dog can't tell you what he's found. So, but you haven't got a cord in the area if a dog indicates on a person. Um, you've got to carry out a search. So, but then it's either drugs or pyrotechnics. The downside of that is drugs are everywhere in society at the moment. So you're going to have a huge queue, and security staff are going to have to manage that queue and carry out searches. Whereas if you had a dog that was only trained for pyrotechnics, the dog would ignore the drugs and only indicate on the pyrotechnic people. So that one you'd need to think about which way you're going to go. I've had a customer recently, only in the summer, that I trained for passive. She's from Scotland, and she only wanted to train a dog for pyrotechnics because of where she was going to work, and that was sort of client led on that instance.
I see. Well, thanks for that, Simon. So I'm just going to summarise because I know we're coming to the end of time, so I'm going to summarise this very quickly. So we've got three types of dogs. We said we've got drugs, explosives, and GP, and they've all got their own points where they need to be in our industry at that point. Training. Well, obviously, if anyone wants training, come and see you. We're not going to mention anyone else, but that's why we're here.
There are other trainers.
But there are other trainers out there. But if you want to know anything more about training, you want good training advice, I'm going to put Simon's details at the bottom of the link on the YouTube channel so you can get hold of Simon. As I say, rest assured, Simon's probably one of the best expert trainers out there, so I'd highly recommend him. Thanks for coming, Simon. Really appreciate your input here.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I would like to go this a little bit deeper on another time, maybe next year, as we know we're running out this whole year, because I think each section is got its own point, isn't it? So you just as you briefly flowed over it all about passive dogs, what dogs can do in each section. So if we could look at that next year, it'd be great if you'd like to come on board.
Absolutely. And what people need to consider is employment opportunities as well for each discipline, because it is different, and lifestyle is different as well, depending what dog you're handling. And not everybody wants to work events or festivals and or be away from home for long periods of time. So all that needs to be considered as well.
So it's we've definitely booked you in the new year. We can get into this a bit more detail.
No, happy to.
Simon, thank you very much for your time today. And for all those people out there, if you like this channel and like to subscribe, please hit the link below, somewhere down there. And Simon, have a great Christmas, and we look forward to speaking to you in the new year.
You too. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Simon.